What's going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to the channel. Hopefully by now you have seen the build video for the tank that you can see here behind me. This is a turbocharged walstad, no filter, dirted aquarium. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Well, here is how we are looking after a week and a half, nearly 2 weeks now. We are in a full ugly diatom phase. Absolutely normal, and to be honest, quite a good sign. Now you'll often find like 80% of the time your tank will go through its ugly phase after a week, between 2 weeks, 3 weeks, that sort of time. Basically, nothing's properly settled in yet, and that's what it's trying to do. It's trying to find a balance. If we look up the side glass of the aquarium, look, you can see there's all sort of algae coating some of that. The front rocks, look, have got sort of yellowy tone to them that you can see there. And some of the plants have got some browny yellowy tips as well. That again is diatom algae. Now this is obviously a far cry from the state that we left the tank in. It was looking proper pristine, had that really fresh look. No aquarium is going to stay like that, and we actually want it to go more like this. This is the start. This means everything's like kicking into action, and how we actually want it to be going, how we actually want it to proceed. Yeah, something like that. That algae on the front glass that you're seeing on the side is making it look more sort of dirty. Let's just clean that up and see how it actually sitting. Right, that's looking so much better already. Glass is scraped. Quite a bit of the sort of diatoms just sort of floating in the water column right now. I'm not sure if I'm picking it up. It will sink down, it will get eaten eventually, either by some of the fish in here, they'll have a go at it, but we're also going to add something in now that will really, really help keep them at bay and also just clean everything up. Some of the plants have now got more algae on their leaves as well. So for instance, up the top on that plant there, which is the Ludwigia, it's not actually showing it too well. Let me come closer to some of the back leaves there, not the brand new ones because they've only just grown up, but the back ones, they've got some algae on them. Oh yeah, that leaf right there, look, that's very green. So, you know, the very top ones are growing beautifully. So we know there's enough light in this aquarium, which is perfect because we're getting algae quite quickly, but also the plants are growing beautifully. So this plant, when we put it in, Maya Grossen or something like that, it's a hard one to pronounce. I'll put it up on the screen. That was just a tiny little sort of pocket of it in there. It's all in there, it's already expanding. So is the Hetonia in the background there. You can see here all the plants are standing upright and they're starting to look really good. Even the Glossostigma in the foreground here, no melt off at all, and it's starting to settle right into that gravel, which is a really good sign. So is the Monte Carlo, look. Look at that leaf there, it's just growing horizontally rather than vertically, which means it's trying to anchor down. Perfect, just what we want. And the stem plants at the back there almost reaching the surface, which is perfect. I'll trim them back and replant them when they do, but I don't need to at the moment. The Pogostemon stellatus at the back there, that's all got fresh new growth on the top, perfect again. These here are immersed Ludwigias. It is Ludwigia rubens Reppen rubens, one of those. Anyway, when we put it in, all these are new leaves on the top because it didn't look like that. You can see the old leaves underneath. They've got more of that rounded sort of look, and then the ones right above it have got that sort of yellowy, more spiked look. Same with this plant here, look at that brand new red on the top, perfect. And in this glass here, I have got about 10 Amano shrimp. Perfect amount of Amano shrimp for a 60 centimetre or a 2-foot tank. They will be all over those plants, and that will be just absolutely perfect moving forward then. Yeah, here they are. Oh, they're all at the top. So they're all attached. I've had them in here for about a week or so. Absolutely fine. Just replacing the water every couple of days. A little bit of food in there. They don't produce hardly any waste, so you don't have to worry about like ammonia spiking or anything like that. Just keep an eye on it and change the water regularly, dechlorinated tap water, or even what I do is just scoop some out of the tanks and just fill it up, pour some out, fill it up, you know. Of course, you don't have to put them in something like that, you can just put them straight into the tank. Now, ordinarily I would, but I wanted to show you guys that process first, clean up the state of the tank, and now we can put them in and they can keep it really good. So now we just got to catch them. They should all come off of all these floating plants. And I'll save those floating plants because we are going to need them in a bit. But yeah, for now we can just catch them out one by one, which sometimes is a bit of a pain with Amanos. They're so fast and jumpy. I mean, the trick is not to try and catch too many at the same time because you will just keep up. Oh, one of them's just jumped on the desk here. Come on, oh, got it back. There we go, there's 2 in. They're so jumpy, really powerful little legs on them. Not like catching like Neocaridina or anything. They're easy, much easier. It's like with shrimp, as soon as they come out of the water, they instantly want to start jumping out of the little net that you've got. So you've got to really quick move them across. See, and they grip as well. You think you've put them in and you haven't. I think there's actually a few more than 10 here, but not to worry, that'd be good. Well, hey, we got them. There's something quite satisfying, isn't there, about watching Amano shrimp just swim around and around in a circle for no reason at all. Let's put them in. Right, here we go then. All the temperatures are matching, by the way, and all the water's basically the same. This all come out of the tank. There's still more on the bottom there, look. There we go. Oh, there's still one more. Come on. No, it's still not coming out. Come on. There we go. All cleaning away. And I'll come back in a few days and like all of this wood and everything you see, look at those bubbles, that's the oxygenation of the algae that's on them. All of that will be completely gone for sure. I mean, he's already on it. And they're such good little workers. Provided you've got small enough fish, they're like the ultimate for cleaning up a tank. 2-foot tank, so, you know, comparison for my hand there. You get about 10 of them in there, absolutely perfect. And to be honest, once all the algae's clean, what I would probably do is take out 5 of them and move them across to another tank, potentially one that's not like running perfectly, it's got a bit more algae. 5 in here when it's clean will keep on top of it. Oh, I should note by the way that before I put them in, I did another water test. We're still showing no ammonia, no nitrite. So I knew it would be absolutely perfect for the shrimp. The shrimp can be, Amano shrimp in particular, can be a little bit sensitive to nitrite, I find. If there's any nitrite in the water, they tend to die off. But I think we're going to be all good in this one. Good little fellows, clean for me. And last but not least for this phase of events, we need to now add some floating plants because the brightness of the light and the fact that plants aren't fully settled in yet is why we're getting quite a bit of this algae. It's not a huge amount, it's manageable, but we can keep on top of it with a few more floating plants. And that's exactly what I did over in the other walstad aquarium. So here it is. This is the one that I set up about a month ago now. I didn't use compost, I just used topsoil and no added sort of ferts to it at all. And it's quite slow growing, but it's clean growing, if you like. Same with this one. What I did after about a week and a half to 2 weeks, the sort of stage we're in now with the other tank, is I added in the floating plants. I made sure that all the plants underneath were growing upright and doing well, rooted in nicely, and then I reduced the lighting with these floating plants, and that's what we're going to do now as well. I mean, these are nice and healthy, so it makes sense to just pinch some of them. There's too many in here at the moment, to be honest, because it's going to make the plants underneath suffer if they're not getting enough light. I want to keep the reds in here though. Actually, it'd be good to have some reds in the other one, just to see if the different water chemistry from the compost versus the topsoil affects the redness of the leaves. Okay, that's plenty. But I will take some more out of this as well because there's still too many, even though I've just harvested a load. Decent little amount here. Once they're in there, I might find I've got too many, but it's all right, we can take some out. It's always better to have too many than not enough in there. I mean, floating plants are really good, aren't they, for adding that sort of natural look, the way that you've got something at the top of the aquarium and then the greenness down. I don't know. All I do know is that looks fantastic. I'm going to come back in a couple of days and I bet you everything is looking so good by then. So I'm currently just over at the guppy aquarium that I set up a while ago now. I just wanted to show you how really well it's doing. I'm really impressed with it, to be honest. It's really simple. I've said really about 4 times. It's staying in. I mean, they're all coming to the front now because they think I'm going to feed them. I just scraped the glass because we've got a little bit of green spot algae. Not a lot, just the same amount you can see on the sides there. I kind of don't mind leaving it on the sides, do you know what I mean? I don't think it like hurts the whole sort of aesthetic of the tank. In fact, having algae on the sides can sometimes add to it, especially in a shrimp tank. But on this one, let's face it, I'm making excuses for being lazy, but don't you agree? It looks really good. All those background stems that we trimmed up a couple of weeks ago, they've all grown back really thick and densely, and that's the reason why you trim them, to be honest. The more you trim them, the more dense they get. I think after a while you do have to sort of take them out and replant the newest of shoots because they can get a bit weird, but I've never had a tank long enough to know that. So right, it has now been 5 days since the last clip you saw of this tank. Yeah, it hasn't gone quite to plan of it being perfect in that time. The plants are growing well though, that's the main thing. Okay, right, I don't think it looks bad, but that murkiness, a huge amount of murkiness. I've never really had a tank as murky as that. And this weird sort of, I don't even know what it is, like a mist at the bottom in one corner. And that's got to be to do with organics or something like that. The plants are growing massive, like, look at this plant here. This is the Matagosan plant. I can't remember. But it's absolutely huge. It's going to need a trim back already. The background stems that we've got is the limnophilia. You can see that's, well, you can't really see because it's too, let me come to the top. There we go, look. We've got an oily substance on the surface. Always happens with a new setup. But yeah, all the plants are growing really well. So that is a good sign. I just never experience this much of a murkiness. It could be that I added these floating plants in, which had a load of beneficial bacteria all over them from the other setup, and that bacteria could have just died off, I guess. I'm not sure, but it definitely needs a water change. I don't like doing water changes on new setups or ecosystem tanks, but it definitely does need it. And what I mean is, I don't like doing water changes on tanks once it's been cycled, you know. When we've got those fish in there and we're going through that initial stages, yeah, you've got a water change. But once it gets settled and cycled like it is now, I like to leave it to do its own thing and balance out. But then over at the topsoil tank, remember that one over there is compost. That's like really high nutrient compost. Thought I'd give it a go and just see how it worked out. And then this is the topsoil, which it did cloud up a slight amount, but that's absolutely normal for a new tank. But after that, there's been no algae, nothing at all, but like consistent growth. It doesn't look like the growth is going to be as quick as the other side, but it's consistent, and that's the main thing. And it looks luscious, it looks nice, doesn't it? The jury's still out. I'm not saying this is the best way, and I do feel that given a little bit of time, the compost tank is going to come into its own. It's just going to probably take a bit more balance. Right, I've noticed something that is not good. If you look at this plant's roots here, look, you see they're black. That is not a good sign at all. It means that like it's basically getting putrefied under there. Maybe I used too much of that compost. Like I think it's just way too organic underneath there, and that's probably what's causing these issues. Which is odd though, because there's no ammonia in the tank. You would have thought it's obviously locked right inside, which is a good thing, to be honest. I'm kind of thinking now it might be a good idea to just break this down and redo it again with the topsoil instead of the compost. The water column's obviously got good nutrients, so any stem plants are growing well. But I also just pulled up this here, which is the dwarf hairgrass, and that showed black roots as well. But over on the topsoil tank, yeah, look at this. I just lifted it to show you guys. This is the topsoil tank. Look at that, pure white roots, properly into the soil already, and it's actually sending out runners, and everything's really good. So to me, that suggests that we should probably abandon this one. I want to make sure that I know the fish are safe. There's not a worry about that. But the plants, there's quite a lot of plants in there, and they're not cheap at the end of the day. I want to make sure that I can redo them, or reuse them. I might just strip it out and redo it again. If I do, I'll show you next time. But for now, I'm just going to leave it for a bit, just to have a couple more days and see what goes on. But that blackness, yeah, that really isn't a good sign at all. You do not want that. Yeah, I've just pulled up a few more of the plant's black roots again, and a strong smell of hydrogen sulfide, like farts basically. It absolutely stinks. So there's obviously something not right there. I'm going to strip this down, I think. I'm just going to do it again. The whole thing of what I'm doing at the moment is experiments. I was experimenting on making this turbocharged by putting a ton of the nutrients in. It literally hasn't worked. You try again, you know, you're fresh and go for something else. I'm going to go back to the other way on the other tank. That worked beautifully, and hopefully I can save these plants.